Yo guys, what is up? Here we are with another reading video. And today we are on chapters 25 and 26 of Milkweed by Jerry Spinelli. Sorry about this being late. I had a vacation for 2 weeks. So everything's a little messed up in terms of timing. But after this week, I promise, cross my heart, hope to die, stick a needle in my eye. There will be videos every Saturday or every weekend. Let's say every weekend. I never know exactly how stuff goes, but every weekend is probably about right. So now, without any further ado, if I can find there we go. Let's get into it. Milkweed by Jerry Spinelli, Chapter 25, Summer. There were no longer bows in Janina's hair or socks on her feet. The straps on her shoes were broken and flapped when she walked. The shoes had become muddy scraps. For a while I tried to shine them with spit, but the mud was too much. The best reflection I had ever seen of myself disappeared with the shine of her shoes. Janina cried a lot, and kicked, and screamed. Sometimes she screamed her mother, "Mama, Mama, make me a pickled egg! Make me, make me!" She loved pickled eggs more than anything, she said, but her mother only lay with her back to the room on the mattress in the corner. As much as Janina cried, she laughed too. She didn't just laugh, she howled, especially when I told her that Uncle Himmler looked like Uncle Schepsel. We were sitting on the floor picking each other's lice at the time, and Uncle Schepsel had just said, "You look like monkeys," and I'd whispered to Janina, "Himmler looks like Uncle Schepsel." And Janina burst out laughing so hard she fell backward and knocked her head on the floor, and lice flew from her hair. And the head knock really hurt, and Janina didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so she did both. One day, Janina ran to me in the courtyard. "I found the cow!" she screamed, and grabbed my hand as we ran. She led me to a bombed-out ice cream shop. 2 walls were still standing. One of them hung a picture of a cow. She often played tricks on me. Once she tricked me into lending her my Yellowstone necklace. She wore it for days. When I asked it back, she threw it over the wall. I couldn't believe it. I was so mad I threw a bag of grifts she had left on the step for me over the wall. She threw my cap over the wall. She had brought one toy animal with her from the side, a blue and gold stuffed pig. She hid it. I found it and threw it over the wall. She said no more. She said even though I threw away her things, she was going to give me something new. I believed her. I felt bad. She said the new gift was already under my coat bed. I looked. It was a rat bone. She liked to goad me into chasing her. Whether I did or not, she always ran. If I didn't chase her, she would stop and thumb her nose at me and call me Fishy Mishi. I didn't have to be goaded the time she leaned out the window above me and dropped a raw turnip on my head. I picked the turnip out of the dirt, put it in my pocket, and took after her. When I caught her, I shook her and told her never to treat food that way. All she did was laugh, so I rubbed the dirty turnip in her face and shook her harder. The harder I shook, the louder she laughed. I became so used to her noise, chattering, whining, pestering, laughing, crying, that my ear went on hearing it even when it stopped. All during one particular day, I sensed that something was wrong, but I didn't know what. I didn't know it was the absence of Janina. I barely heard her all day, barely saw her. That night, as usual, most activity came to a stop. The light bulb was always dark now. The end of the day's light was the end of ours. No more knocks on the door for Mr. Milgram's pills and potions. Uncle Schepsel put away his book on how to become a Lutheran. Miss Milgram did not have to stop whatever she was doing, for she did nothing to begin with. All day, all night, she lay on the mattress with her back to us. She only moved when she coughed. Janina continued to play pick-up sticks in the dark by fingertip feel until her father said, "Janina," and she would stop and lie down on the overcoat next to me. But on this night she was already on her coat when I lay down. I slept with my new family almost every night now. Mr. Milgram always said good night to us, first to Janina and then to me. I always looked forward to that moment, as no one had ever said good night to me. On this night, when he said good night, Janina, there was no answer. As usual, I waited until I heard everyone sleeping. It pleased me to do this. I liked to pretend that if anyone heard me go out, I would be forbidden. I got up and crept from the room. I did this nearly every night. I tiptoed down the stairs and into the moonlight courtyard and into the street. My instinct was to be bold and uncatchable, but I enjoyed being sneaky too. The streets looked deserted, but I knew they were not as deserted as they appeared. I knew that somewhere along the wall Big Henrik stood tall as he could with Kuba on his shoulders, and Kuba was draping thick coats across the barbed wire and hauling himself over down to the other side, then tossing over the wall the rope that Big Henrik would winch him back with. I knew that beneath my feet, in the sewers, where daylight never fell on the rats and the rivers of poop, Enos, Ferdy, and one-armed Orlick were creeping down the wall, puffing on Ferdy's cigar to give themselves points of light and to smoke over the snake. I knew they all wished they could come with me. They wished they could fit through the two brick space. As for Yuri, who knew? He was somewhere doing something. I darted from shadow to shadow until I was across the street from the wall. I stood on the shadow of the doorway. The night glowed beyond the barbed wire. Sounds floated over, a clink, a tinkle, a voice, a wisp of music. I leaned out to watch for Flops on patrol. Someone was standing in the moonlight and arms linked the way. I couldn't believe it. Janina! I followed you. She was grinning. I yanked her into the doorway. Go back, I said. No, go back. I'm going with you. Her eyes were 2 drops of moonlight. You're not little enough, I said stupidly. I'm littler than you. I'm not taking you. You have to. You're my big brother. That stopped me for a moment, and this gave me all the more reason not to allow her. No! Yes, I smacked her in the face. The moon drops wobbled. She smacked me back. And that was that. I dashed across the street to the wall, and in a moment I was through the 2 brick space and onto the other side. A moment later she came squirming through the wall. Chapter 26. She stood gaping. The rest of the city! It's still here! I ran to her. I pulled the armband from her sleeve and stuffed it into her coat pocket. I did the same with my own. See, you made me forget. I stomped off. It was not as good to be seen near the wall. I took the sidewalk. It was not good to be seen near the wall. I took the sidewalk. I heard footsteps behind me. I walked fast. Maybe I couldn't stop her from following me, but I had no intention of making her a full partner. Soon we were amongst the people. The sources of the voice getting loud. The sources of the voices and the sounds that came drifting over the wall. In the ghetto, all was gray. The people were gray, the sounds were gray, the smells were gray. Here everything was colors to me. The red clang of the streetcars, the blue music from phonographs, silver laughter of people. In the distance, the toodles of the merry-go-round were swirls of color. Whenever I came through the wall, I wanted to do nothing but walk the streets. I remembered Yuri's words, don't look guilty. I swaggered down the sidewalk. I headed straight for the other pedestrians and made them veer around me. I whistled. In other words, I ignored Yuri's and other commands. Don't call attention to yourself. Be invisible. Maybe I heeded a little. I resisted the temptation to put the blue and white armband back on. I was proud to be part of the Milgram family. Proud to be Jew. I wanted to wave my armband, shout, "Hey everyone, look at me, I'm a Jew, a filthy son of Abraham." But I didn't. I heard Janina whistling behind me. I went to my favorite place. It was a hotel for jackboots. Jackboots ate there and drank beer and slept there. A blue neon sign in the shape of a camel blinked off and on above a revolving door. I did what I always did. I went in the revolving door, around and right back outside. I went in the revolving door and around and right back outside again. Gina did it too, but she didn't stop once after me. She didn't stop after once around. I jerked her away. I went around back. Garbage cans as tall as me were lined up like soldiers. As usual, the lids were off and several children were poking through the stench and the maggots. They were too busy to notice me. The hatch door leading to the food cellar was locked as usual. There were several windows at the ground level. There were steel bars in front of the glass. I knelt before one of the windows. I pushed it open. I took off my coat and tossed it inside. I turned myself sideways and squeezed in between 2 of the bars and dropped head first into a dimly lit cellar. I thought nothing of it. I lived in the cracks of a world made for large, slow people. As I was bending over for my coat, Junia's coat hit me in the rump. She came tumbling down in a flurry of underwear. "Ow!" she squawked. "Be quiet," I told her. "You should have stayed home." I pulled the sack from my pocket and unfolded it. She said, "Food," I said. "I don't have one. Too bad. Where's the pickled eggs?" "They don't have any." Not that I would have known a pickled egg if I saw one. She swept a large coffee can from a shelf. It crashed on the floor. I balled my fist in front of her face. "Stop it. They're going to hear." She jabbed her chin at me. "I don't like you." "I don't like you." "Good," she said, and stomped off among the shelves searching for pickled eggs. I began making my rounds. There was one problem with the Blue Camel Hotel food cellar. Much of the food was in cans and jars and too big and heavy to carry a long way, so I concentrated on smaller, lighter things. There were wooden bins of onions and lettuces and turnips and cabbages. There were boxes of soda crackers and stacked loaves of brown and black bread. There were gray, ancient dried fish and jellies and potatoes sprouting wigs of grass. I avoided the cold locker of fresh meats, as we had no way to cook them, but shriveled clubs of sausages were perfect. I filled my sack and headed for my treat. Although the jars and fruits and vegetables were too big to carry, who was to say I could not help myself to them right there in the food cellar? I pulled out from a dusty corner my personal jar of peaches and syrup. The jar was almost as big as myself. I unscrewed the lid and grabbed a peach. "What's that?" came Janina's voice over my shoulder. "What's it look like?" I stuffed the peach into my mouth. "I want one," she reached. I smacked her hand. "They're mine." She balled her fist and leaned back and screamed, "I'm hungry!" I grabbed another peach and stuffed it into her mouth. "Here." I quick closed the jar and shoved it back just as the door opened. Light flooded from above. Footsteps came partway down the stairs and stopped. A voice said, "Hello? Hello?" We crouched by the fruit jars, our cheeks bulging, peach juice streaming from our chins. "Hello?" At last the footsteps went away, and the door closed. I pushed a crate under the window and climbed onto it. I shoved the stuff stack and then myself through the bars. Even standing on the crate, Janina could not reach, so I had to help haul her out. Going back, lugging the sack over my shoulder. Sack over my shoulder. We stayed in the shadows and alleyways until the final dash across the moonlight to the 2 brick space and on to the other side. Another dash across the moonlight and back onto the shadows. I headed for the orphanage. Dr. Korzak always left the window unlocked in the back. I opened it and dumped half the contents of my sack. "What are you doing?" said Janina. "Feeding the orphans," I told her. "You're supposed to feed us." I was tired of her crabbing. "I feed whoever I want to feed." I slammed the window shut and headed home. The next day I visited the boys. I knew where I would find them. I knew I would find them in their new... wait. Scratch that. That was chapter 27. So, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a big thumbs up, comment down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys in the next video.